What's up guys, it's Mama Deadhead and I am back with another video. So as I promised, this is going to be my predictions video. So this video might be a tad longer and a bit different in the fact that I am not going to be editing this just because I want this to be a raw conversation. I might talk in circles a little bit, but I didn't want this to be like a uniform, extremely structured video. I just wanted this to come across as like a simple discussion, and I know that chances are I might repeat things, I might say things that don't seem so clear. I'm human, and I can guarantee I make these mistakes in real life. And if you go back and watch the stream that I did, I went in depth on all of my predictions, and I still talked in a circle in that too, so I know that if I make it super uniform, it might take some of like my authentic emotion out of it, and I want there to be that real emotion. I'm gonna go ahead and pause the TV because I can see that it's causing an issue with light and it looks kind of weird, so I'm gonna pause it, but to where I can see what time it is because it's about 7 o'clock and the show comes on at 9. So the first thing that I want to say is my list has changed quite a bit. Mostly the first person has stayed the first person, but everyone else, except for like a couple people, have changed on it. Sorry if I said that wrong. But anyway, so one of the things that I wanted to start with is I will be looking down because I do have like all of this written in a notebook, like a whole bunch of notes, so on multiple pages too. So I actually want to read like the little synopsis that whenever you Google The Walking Dead, it comes up and it says like actors, episodes, seasons, and then under episodes it has like a little bit about the episode. 12 and 13 have came out, so I wanted to talk a little bit about that and how it plays into my predictions for these upcoming episodes, obviously, because that's very important to what's going to happen, because that's the only tidbits we can really get aside from the sneak peeks. And having this, I feel, is a bit more clear, because in a sneak peek they can make you think something is happening that maybe isn't happening, just with the power of editing. So first things first, let's go ahead and read, and this episode for tonight is called Guardians. So I'm gonna hold this up as close as I can so I don't look like super awkward when I talk. It says, while one community struggles to ease tensions that threaten to divide from within, the true nature of another group comes into focus. A mission to rescue a friend has deadly consequences. So the first thing that I want to note, sorry for my voice, in my stream I was not sure when it said one community struggles to ease tensions that threaten to divide them from within. I did not know what that community was, but looking back, obviously you guys saw in my very real raw reaction to Beta speaking, I basically did not see any of the rest of the sneak peek because I was just like, oh my god, like he actually just spoke, like this is amazing. But going back and looking, it really seems that that is going to be Alexandria, especially with there's another sneak peek. I say that there's another sneak peek with Eugene, or maybe it's the same one. Honestly, I'm not too sure. I just know that I saw something that kind of appeared to be Eugene telling Father Gabriel, and then, Eugene looking kind of sneaky, I guess. And then there was also a scene, I feel like this is an older sneak peek, that is Rosita like coming around a corner and Father Gabriel looking like really like upset about the situation, which I'm assuming is this like big love story going on right now between Sadiq, Eugene, Father Gabriel, and Rosita. So I kind of think that it's maybe not that per se, but with that being in like the next episode sneak peek, it would make sense that it wouldn't be like a completely different community altogether, that they would just kind of focus on that bit and then on the Whisper bit, like they kind of have been for the past couple episodes. They switch back and forth between like two stories, and that's about it. So then it says the true nature of another group comes into focus. Whispers, obviously, definitely going to be a Whisper episode. We saw that. Like, it's literally the one thing that I can definitely remember from this sneak, because this is going to be a Whisper episode. And then a mission to rescue a friend has deadly consequences. Wondering what that could be. So the next one I'm going to go into, I'm not going to talk about what I think that is because it kind of plays into the next little synopsis. So the next one synopsis, what do I call these? I'm not, to be honest, I don't know. And then it's called Choke Point. It's the 13th episode, and it says, Daryl's daring rescue mission forces Alpha to unleash a group of her own to retrieve what belongs to her, even if the price is paid in blood. The kingdom plans to reunite the community. The kingdom's plans to reunite the communities are put in jeopardy. So this is what I find interesting, and I tried to explain on stream, and like I said in this video, I might talk in circles, and I definitely did on my stream, and that was just me just talking naturally, just like I am now. Ooh, that would have been a fiasco. I would have like 3 hours of footage for you guys of me just saying the same things over and over. But the one for this episode says, a mission to rescue a friend has deadly consequences. And then the next one says, Daryl's daring rescue mission forces Alpha to unleash a group of her own to retrieve what belongs to her. So I'm having some issues with how this is worded and how this is going to play out, because I can see Connie dying. I don't really see, because this story is so like focused around Henry and what Henry is doing, I don't see it being deadly for him. I could maybe see it being deadly for Lydia, but I just don't see it being deadly for him. And of course not for Daryl. His paw armor is entirely too thick for him to die at this point. He would certainly be, like, if he were to go, it would be a mid-season finale, mid-season premiere, finale, premiere, that type of thing. But I just the way it's worded, a mission to rescue a friend has deadly consequences. And then Daryl's daring rescue mission forces Alpha to unleash a group of her own to retrieve what belongs to her. This is what I'm having an issue with. It sounds like two separate missions to me, because I don't know, just the way that it's worded. The true nature of another group comes into focus. A mission to rescue a friend has deadly consequences. Daryl's daring rescue mission forces Alpha to unleash a group of her own to retrieve what belongs to her, even if the price is paid in blood. What is being taken that belongs to her? That's my question. What could they possibly do in this episode that would cause her to unleash this force like no other? The thing about right now, and one thing that I want to talk about, well, two things up here, because I have what the little synopsis parts say and then a little bit that I wanted to talk about. Daryl and Connie going on this. I feel that Connie, out of like all of that group, is very much like a voice of reason. Not like too moral compassy, but not like too headstrong. Like not a Luke, but not Magna, if that makes any sense. So I feel that if they go up on this scene, Henry is obviously captured by Beta. They have this confrontation. There's Lydia. Daryl might want to go in headstrong, but I feel that Connie might reel him in and be like, whoa, we need to like gather our masses, try and combat this a different way. I just don't know. It's just something about it, just the way that it sounds is weird. And what could they possibly take? This is just what's bothering me. Plus, if they were to just come right now, if this means that it's the same one, and in this next episode, Alpha's just coming to retrieve what's hers. How many episodes? I'm pretty sure there's like 15 at the very least. And this is 13. So this would kind of make the fair not happen. And I don't think that the fair is going to not happen, if that makes any sense. Now, this is why I said talking in circles. I don't know if that made any sense to you guys, but just talking it out right now has kind of made me feel a little bit better about it. It kind of makes sense to me that this is two separate things. Maybe they do decide that maybe Connie reels in Daryl and is like, not the time, we need to come back, and then they come back and something happens. I'm thinking maybe retrieve what belongs to her as in land, because we did see that the kingdom crossed into their territory, or what it seems like they crossed into their territory. Whenever they were coming back from the theater, we saw the sign that was this weird symbol. We don't know what it means. I'm assuming that that means Whisperer, like land, Whisperer territory. So maybe that, but I'm just not sure. So then the rest of this says the kingdom's plans to reunite the communities are put into jeopardy. I'm kind of thinking, considering that is the next episode, not this coming one tonight, but the next episode, it's difficult. I think that potentially what is going to happen is maybe, I don't know, I'm just not feeling Henry getting rescued. That's just me. Daryl had, this is gonna get some stuff, try to dance around this, but I might as well go ahead and say it. He's had a good few Daryl to the non-rescue. He may have the best of intentions. He may really truly want to rescue Henry from this situation, but just stuff happens, like what happened with Beth, what happened with Sophia. Of course, I'm not saying directly he killed those people, but being involved in that and like wanting this to happen and trying to have relationships with certain characters don't always work out when it's with Daryl. So I don't know how I feel about it. Like I said, he might rescue him in this episode, but it's just that a mission to rescue a friend has deadly consequences. I don't understand what that could possibly mean other than like deadly. Someone dies. Something happens, and I don't know. I feel that if anyone were to die in this situation, it would be Connie, and I just don't like that. So then I want to talk a little bit about the Beta and Henry and Beta and Daryl. What could this mean? And maybe this ties into what is down in the little synopsis for these two episodes. So Beta obviously captures Henry, but then we also see Beta and Daryl fighting. Now, the reason why I say maybe it ties into what is said down here, it says the kingdom's plans to reunite the communities are put in jeopardy. So Kingdom specifically went into Whisperer territory. I can't help but think when I see that fight between Daryl and Beta that it really, really looks like the Kingdom. Like we see like the flowiness of like the curtain type things-ish. Not sure where that could be, but it seems kind of like the theater. It reminds me of where like King Ezekiel is all the time. So I don't know. Maybe that comes back to bite them. The fact that they went into the Walker territory. Maybe it's what Henry does. I don't know, but I just don't feel that they would show that symbol for no reason. So I kind of think that maybe if Daryl goes to Kingdom to be like, King Ezekiel, Carol, this is what's going on, and maybe is confronted by some Whisperers that saw them trespassing. That's just my 2 cents on that take. And then, of course, the 2 knives. I've said this in a bunch of streams, and I think in reactions before, I want Beta to get those 2 knives, Frowning McTwo knives. I want him to get that from Daryl so bad. And you guys know I'm not a big fan of Daryl, but whenever there's a couple things that have just absolutely made me, like, livid. And I don't, like, I get kind of ranty, and it's mostly, like, all in good fun, because I love Norman Reedus. I just don't like Daryl, and some of the things that he does are, like, frustrating, but they're extremely typical, like, being a hypocrite in this, like, was it the last episode? I think it was the last episode, being like, you shouldn't listen to people, and then, like, orchestrating a whole thing to listen to Henry with multiple people, like, that type of deal. But what made me absolutely livid, I think that I might have even cut that out of the reaction, was when he had like 2 knives on him, and it was becoming like his signature thing, and it was like in 2 episodes, and they had a little like behind the scenes about it. I was just, I'm telling you guys, like I sat back and I watched like, The Talking Dead, and I was like, are they really giving Daryl 2 knives at a time like this when Beta's about to come into the show? But now that I think about it, that would be an awesome way for Beta to just Okay, anyway, let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about the actual Pike victims now. So, in the comic, these are the people that were on the Pikes, and I'm going to go in order of how they saw it. And that is Olivia, Josh, Carson, Tammy Rose, Luke, Aaron, Ken, Amber, Larry, Oscar, Rosita, and finally King Ezekiel. With the people that discovered them, first off, of course, because everyone knew at some point, who actually discovered this scene is Rick, Lydia, Carl, Andrea, Michonne, and Dante. So obviously, this has to be changed quite a bit because a lot of these characters, like, don't even exist. Especially who discovers them. Rick, Lydia, Carl, Andrea, Michonne, Dante. What in the world? So this is just my Pike list, and I wrote down, well, I wrote down in the comics, and then who I think, with like a bunch of scribbles and notes, and a combination of people that could discover this, and what would make the biggest emotional impact on the show. Maybe not what, like, I think or I want, but what I think would be the biggest impact show-wise with emotions and such. So, what I have as my Pike speculation, I'm going to go one by one and say why I think that. And when it gets to like the last three, it gets kind of iffy, so I want to really go in depth on why and who and all of that. So 10 I have as Scott, one of the like original Alexandrians. We have kind of sort of seen him, you know, since Alexandria was introduced, and I feel that that would be a very familiar face, but not massive, because obviously these can't all be massive deaths. There's like so many less, how do I say this? There are a lot less like main really good characters in the show compared to the comics, because in the comics you don't have to deal with actors, people leaving, there being disagreements or anything like that. You can just write it how it is, how you want it to be, and obviously a show is going to be a lot different. So, let me see. Oh, I'm worried for these people. Like, reading it just gives me such a bad feeling in the pit of my stomach. I know that I'm smiling, but I feel horrific about reading this list. But, yeah, okay, so Scott number 10. 9 being one of the teens that Henry was hanging out with. I think that one or a couple of them could definitely be Pike victims. Some of these, none other than the fact that some people need to go, and these are just the people I can think of. I did start at 10. The comic has 12, but I'm kind of leaning towards 10 in the show. I didn't say that. 8, Laura. I don't want it to be Laura, but as far as like background type characters, she makes the most sense as far as Alexandria goes. I actually do not have any from Oceanside on here. Maybe I should put a couple from Oceanside on here. Comment down below. What do you guys think? So, I think that in my previous list, I did have one of Negan's wives as a Pike victim, but we haven't seen them, so it kind of eliminates them as options. Then 7 I have is Cal. This is someone that I'm kind of going in order of how much we've seen these people and how well we know them. So, or what their emotional impact would be. So Cal, again, I think up to this, I don't think anyone would be devastated. I think they would be sad, but there wouldn't be like, oh my god, no, not Cal of all people. So I don't think it would be like that. So number 6, I think 5 and 6 could kind of be the same as far as importance goes, because we've seen a lot of one, and then we've seen a lot of one just this season alone. So, sorry if there's weird notebook noises in the background. So 6 is Diane, which is kind of King Ezekiel's right-hand woman, aside from Jerry, of course. Always there, always been very loyal to the kingdom, always there when she's needed, and I think that that would be a very impactful death, because if I saw her, I'd be like, oh my god, no, Diane, like, this is when I would really start to care. Who I have listed as 5 is Tammy Rose. Just like the comics, I think that she will be getting her comic death because it's kind of going in a similar fashion to the comics. Not quite the same, but I think that she would be a good option. 4 also in the comics, I might have said a couple that are in the comics, I'm not sure, is Luke. I think that Luke is going to be one of the victims. He kind of, maybe it's because I don't want any of the rest to die. Not that I want him to die. It's just kind of like the least one, if that makes any sense. The least one out of that group that I like. Then 3, now I've heard a lot of chatter about this one with what happened in the previous episode, but I have it as Nabila, and I know that a lot of people have Jerry on their list. How could you even think that? That's so terrible. But no, I really get it. I think that Jerry or Nabila would be great. I kind of just think Nabila to take away from who is going to be second and why I think that these 2 deaths are different. So let's go ahead and go on to 1 and 2 because then it will kind of make a bit more sense why I have her as 3. So, unlike the masses, I do not think Rosita is going to be a Pike victim, and I think that this one is kind of half and half, but I don't think King Ezekiel is going to be a Pike victim either. Now, the reasons that I think for King Ezekiel not being a Pike victim, just because we don't have a lot of community leaders. I don't mean like show leads or who gets paid more or anything like that, but with Maggie being gone, Jesus just dying, Rick leaving, with the community so like scattered and like torn apart as far as relationship wise goes, just don't see it being him. Now, I've had a couple comments, when has that mattered? When has like the smart way been any way, you know, considering Jesus was a death, Carl was a death, what makes you think King Ezekiel wouldn't be a death? Valid point, and I have absolutely no argument against it. He could very well be a victim, and I would still be quite devastated. Sorry if I'm stumbling over any of my words. I'm very nervous about the no editing in this one. But anyway, so who I have as 2 is 3 people, because I'm still really torn on this, and before 15 or 16, however many episodes are in this season, I will make another list, like a for sure list. Maybe after this one, I don't know. Maybe after 13. Anyway, I have Eugene, Enid, and Sadiq. Now, I have seen some really good arguments as far as like Eugene, Father Gabriel, Sadiq. Oh, sorry guys. Okay, alright, sorry. I thought that I had everything turned off. I did not. I do apologize if you guys heard any messages go off or anything like that. So, I've heard a lot of arguments for Eugene / Father Gabriel and Enid and Alden and Enid and Sadiq. So, Enid and Sadiq for no other reason that there are 2 doctors right now, and that seems very generous in the Walking Dead world. But for this video, I am going to go with Eugene. I'm just going to take Enid and Sadiq off of this list for now. So the reason I think Eugene and how it kind of plays in with Nabila is obviously it was a massive deal that in the comics, Rosita was on a Pike when she was pregnant. I think that Nabila, I don't think she's pregnant right now, but she has 3 kids, and that really takes like the nurturing, mothering spot on a Pike, and it would be less than, well, depending on who you talk to, less of a massive death if it was Nabila. Now, Eugene, I want to go into a bit of detail about this. So, this has been a very in-our-face type of thing. And I wouldn't say that I'm dead set on Eugene, because I think that out of this quadrilateral, love quadrilateral, it's not a triangle because there's like 4 people. Is it quadrilateral? Horrible math lesson for you guys. Anyway, I think the one person out of that group is definitely a goner. So the reason why I don't think it's Rosita is things have played out a lot different. And I think that she is a lot different from her comic book counterpart in the fact that I feel that after the thing with Sasha, she really truly like grew into herself as a character and became more confident. And I don't think that, one, she could be like as naive as comic Rosita, and I don't think she could be like let off. So if her and Father Gabriel, if, you know, he learns and he stays, which I think that, I would imagine that this will be a hard thing, but he has really believed in her for a long time. When I was super frustrated with Rosita and Father Gabriel was really nice to her, and it was just like, oh, so frustrating because, like I said at that time, I didn't like them. But I can see that they've had a connection for a while. I know that I'm going to talk circles around myself, guys. I'm so sorry. But I think that in my head I'm picturing a pregnant Rosita and Father Gabriel together at the fair. What I cannot see in my head is someone leading Rosita off. If Rosita is happy, because you know at the fair, spoiler alert for people who haven't read the comics, at the fair people are like let off and put on pikes, and you know, it's this big thing. Well, I just don't see in my head, I can't see Rosita being let off. I can see someone being like, hey, come off into these woods with me, and her being like, get away from me? Like, no, I'm not going with you. What I can see is a very upset and distraught Eugene wandering off into the woods, and just to have like a moment after seeing her and Father Gabriel happy, because obviously he loves Rosita. So I can see that. Another thing that makes me think Eugene is the fact that Father Gabriel has taken the radio story from Eugene, which is like his biggest story in the comic, is this radio that leads into so many other things in the story. So a bunch of people that I've talked to have actually said that that's a good reason that Father Gabriel would die instead of Eugene, taking back, sorry, let me rephrase, that Father Gabriel being the one to die would get Eugene to take back his story, like kind of as like a redemption type thing. I don't know. I'm honestly thinking maybe Eugene, and maybe that would even fit in the category with King Ezekiel and the comic books. Comic books. Yeah, comic books. And I don't know why I thought that was weird in my head. But it would also fit into what happened with King Ezekiel, because I can't remember who it was, but someone said that like Michonne wanted to talk things out and like wanted to get back together or something of that nature. And King Ezekiel like ran off really happy because he wanted this, and then he ended up on a pike. Could be maybe Rosita, or maybe Father Gabriel is there and he's like, me and Rosita had a fight. I don't think Rosita wants to be with me. I think she wants to be with you. You go find her. And Eugene goes off and could get on a pike. I think that just in my head that makes a lot more sense than Rosita ending up on a pike. And I hope that that made a lot of sense. Plus the fact that I kind of think Siddiq on a pike for me would be more because he's a doctor, less because of the love triangle. And I don't know, I just think that the way that this has went down, because we don't learn about Siddiq in this grand picture in the comics until later after Rosita is gone, just how everything is unfolding. It feels very Eugene for me. And if Eugene, because I'm pretty sure that maybe it was in my dreams, I don't know, because I don't really remember it that well, but I remember a scene that appears that Eugene is about to tell Father Gabriel something. And if he blows the whistle on Rosita being pregnant by Siddiq, I would be very disappointed in his character. But with him being upset about, you know, being in love with Rosita and seeing her pregnant by one person and with a totally different person and seemingly being happy, I can understand his frustration about it, but I don't think that that's the way to go, and I will be very upset if he does that. So, last but not least, Henry. So, Henry. I've had a lot of my Q&A questions were about Henry. How do I feel about Henry? I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys. I'm not a massive fan of Henry, but Henry's a kid, and I get it. And the examples that have been set for him aren't the best. Like, imagine being a teenager. Teenagers already have like such intense and passionate feelings, whether it be like friendship or romantic feelings or anything. I honestly think that any teenager down there with Lydia that is like compassionate like Henry is would be in the same situation trying to rescue her. Doesn't matter the sexuality, the gender, anything. It really doesn't. I think that when you're a teenager, you just have these really intense feelings. I know that you all know what I'm talking about. If there's teenagers watching, they're probably like, oh yeah, right, she sounds like a mom right now. It's because I am a mom. But anyway, I just think that it's just leading up to Henry. I can't picture anyone else in my head having this death. It just, to me, there's so many reasons why, and most of them are just kind of like symbolic. And it does play a lot into who is going to discover this, because obviously if Tara, for example, if Tara was to die, and Tara is the big death, and she's like on the first pike, and King Ezekiel runs across it, will he be upset that a head's on a pike? Yes. But it will not be like remotely similar to the reaction he would have that if Henry was on a pike. Like, you see what I'm saying? I think that they really have to pander to emotions, and whoever is on these pikes, it really has to be someone that cares about them, that knows them as a person, that's friends with them, that has some sort of family bond, whether that be like husband, wife, kid, I don't know. It just has to be really impactful, not only who is on the pike, but the reaction that the person is going to give seeing them. Because I remember in the comics, obviously I love King Ezekiel, not as much as I love King Ezekiel in the show, actually, but seeing the reaction to Michonne crying for King Ezekiel broke my heart. Seeing King Ezekiel on a pike broke my heart, but seeing Rick, like, collapse to his knees, that's what gets me. That's what gets me, not, like, the death. The death obviously has a lot to do with my emotions, but it's nothing compared to the reactions that other people give. Shiva dying, you can go back and watch my Shiva reaction. I cried 99% of that reaction, just a heads up. And I sobbed that Shiva was dying, but the part that I legit could not handle was King Ezekiel and his eyes and the way that he acted. I couldn't handle that. That's what was worse than the actual death that was occurring. And thank goodness that I didn't actually see the death on that one. It wasn't like a Herschel moment. Ooh, that would have killed me. Anyway, so if I take off the people that I think might be, and I just say who, like, straight up on a pike, not like who I really think, let me just put this list out and then tell you who to find and why this would make the most sense. Scott. Ooh. Okay, sorry. My video was too long and it started a new one. Okay. So, Scott, a teen that Henry was with, Laura, Pal, Diane, Tammy Rose, Luke, Nabila, Eugene, and Henry. Let's take everyone else out of the equation. Just these guys. Who would make the biggest impact on screen discovering that Pike setup? In my head, King Ezekiel, Carol, Jerry, Rosita, and or Father Gabriel in the background. Because in the actual comics, it was like Dante in the back. Because he knows these people, but obviously this is a scene for like our core group. So maybe someone in the back, maybe someone less important in the back, but someone kind of pushed back. So imagine King Ezekiel and Carol rolling in and discovering Henry. Imagine Jerry seeing his wife. Imagine Rosita seeing Eugene. It doesn't matter if they have a romantic relationship. What matters is the friendship that they've had for years at this point. Like, I feel that that would be most impactful. Now, what I think as far as who to discover, I'll just go ahead and straight up say that I do not think that the King, Carol, Daryl, Michonne, Kelly, RJ, and Judith. I was like, who's the other kid? Judith. I don't think that they are at risk at all. I've already talked about King Ezekiel, but I know that Kelly is kind of an off name to throw out. The reason that I think her is because in the comics, Kelly is male and Kelly is Connie's boyfriend. They changed the role specifically for Angel Theory, and typically if they change a role or add a role for you, it makes me think that they kind of like you more and they really want you to be there, and I just feel that that's how that's gonna be. Anyway, let's move on. So, who do I think it will actually be? It might make sense for Daryl to be in that scene because they're trying to shove all of like the main people to like the forefront of the show now. So it might make sense for, I don't know what would put these people in a situation to where they would discover this. This is something that I haven't written down in my predictions because I'm honestly not sure about. Maybe as the show progresses, I'll understand and maybe be able to make a better prediction about that, but I'm just gonna strictly talk about like who I think is maybe gonna discover it. I think that Michonne would be a good option that they would put in. Daryl. I don't know why I'm not thinking Carol, but maybe Carol because she hasn't really been at the forefront of like bigger scenes like this yet. I'm talking about like Glenn and all out war-ish Negan type things. So maybe they would put her in. I don't know why I'm really feeling King. And I don't know why, but maybe if King is there, Carol won't be there. Maybe if Carol is there, the King won't be there. Maybe that's too many main characters to have in the same place. Like I said, this is just kind of a discussion video. I'm not 100% sure, but this is just what I'm feeling at this moment. I realize that this video is nearly 40 minutes now, but that's really all I have to talk about, and I hope that you guys enjoy this predictions video. Maybe turn it on when you don't have anything to do. Tomorrow I have an awesome video coming to you guys about the Whisperers, and Tuesday I'm going to be putting out the answers to the Q&A that I put out the last Tuesday, I believe. So that's going to be all for this video. Thank you guys so much. If you've watched this entire video, I genuinely appreciate it. It means so much that you would watch like a 40-minute video of mine, just really talking and stumbling over my words. But again, thank you so much. And I'm really excited for the episode tonight. But that's going to be all for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. And like always, think positive thoughts and send positive vibes. Bye guys.